Sheesh. I think this is the 37th time I record this intro. Welcome. How are you today? It is Monday, January 20th. It's a day off for me. There are a lot of new faces here, a lot of new subscribers lately, so I figured I would start by introducing myself a little bit. I am Mimimustknit. You can find me by that name on Instagram and Ravelry. My real name is Milan. Mimi was just a nickname, and it kind of took off from there. I am a 911 police and fire dispatcher, so I work shifts, which is why I'm off on a Monday. It's a cool job, but it's shift work. It's days and nights. So at my age, I'm a little bit tired. I talk mostly about knitting and crochet and spinning and other crafty things, but I sometimes get to talking about books and traveling. Today we're mostly going to talk about knitting. I have 0 spinning. I have 3 finished objects. I have 2 projects on my needles, and I think I have 2 that I would like to start in the next couple of days. So if you were here my last episode, you'll remember that I was working on this beautiful Icelandic sweater. It's got a real sexy name. It's called E18. I'll put the designer right here because I really don't want to embarrass myself trying to pronounce her name. So here is the really lovely Lopi sweater that I recently finished. And I titled this episode Doing It Right because I made this sweater for my friend Sandy, who requested sweaters for him and his wife, matching sweaters. Exactly the same, not even like in reverse or anything like that, but he wanted matching sweaters for him and his wife, and he wanted traditional Icelandic. So he doesn't know that I knit these top down. He doesn't need to know. But I've got a video that'll be coming out shortly on how to reverse an Icelandic pattern, because when I was knitting my son's sweater when we were traveling through Iceland, I really wanted to make it top down, and I couldn't find a video that kind of guided you through the process of doing that. So I figured I would just record my own. So all that to say, this sweater is knit top down. And when I knit it, I totally forgot to do the color work on the waist and on the wrists. So I kind of had to rip it back. I didn't really want to. I don't care if it doesn't have color work on the bottom of the waist and the arms, but Sandy really wanted traditional sweaters. So I took out, probably, well, up to here. And then I knit the color work. It didn't take long. It's just kind of a pain in the butt, And then I still have to weave in all my ends and block it, but this is my first finished object. It's humongous because he's not a small guy. But isn't it beautiful? I am not usually, I'm not usually a fan of blue, but I chose some really nice blues, I think. And this sweater is really stunning. I am really digging this color work. It's got a couple sections that have 3 colors at a time. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's not enough to deter me from making these beautiful sweaters. So that is my finished object number 1. Oh, finished object number 2. I don't think I talked about this no, because I didn't have the yarn yet. But when I went to Iceland, I ended up buying this little, like a little jacket. It's kind of like a puffy jacket, but it's not feathers inside like we buy here in Canada. It's got wool, a wool liner. Anyway, it had some really bright orange zipper pulls, and I, for some reason, really wanted a hat to match the zipper pulls. So I got, I got this yarn. It's, oh my God, it's like fluorescent. It's like traffic cone fluorescent or construction vest fluorescent. But here is the label for the fuzzy yarn. It's an alpaca silk. It's 74 Surrey alpaca and 26 silk. I don't have my glasses on, so it's like I have to hold it over here. Anyway, This is a new brand for me, Fiberland. I got this at Wool Emporium in Montebello. And then I found this Heritage, the Cascade Heritage sock yarn. I thought they're not a perfect match, but they go pretty well together. But orange is not my color. But I really wanted this hat. So I polled people on Instagram, do you think I can pull this off? And most people said yes, they thought I could pull it off. One person said definitely no. And I was kind of on the fence, but here you go. What do you think? It is by far probably one of the comfiest hats I've ever made. I don't know if it has anything to do with the alpaca content, but I love this hat. I don't know if it's like super me. I think it doesn't look terrible. What do you think? What do you think? Honest opinions. It won't hurt my feelings. Anyway, so this is the Musselburgh hat, in case you live under a rock and you haven't heard about this hat. I really love making this because it's easy. Once you get through the increases in the first portion, it's just knit. And I made this hat when I went to Boston a couple weekends ago. I didn't do any of the driving. I think all my friends know that I don't drive because I knit. So I made this in that weekend, all the way there and all the way back. My friend Eric did the driving. My son sat in the back seat. There you go. So that's my second finished object, my traffic cone, or my construction vest hat. It's hilarious. I love it. But if you haven't made this hat, go for it. And if you can use Surrey alpaca, go for it. Because it's so cozy. I love wearing that hat, even if it looks ridiculous. Where's my third project? Oh yeah, it's a hiding. So I finished the Thrum mittens. I hate them. I don't know why I hate them so much. I'm mad at them. Let's just say that. And when I finished them, I shoved them in this project bag and they haven't seen the light of day since. I actually forgot that they existed. And I made these while I was at work. One day I was working on them and everybody thought they were the coolest thing ever. Aren't they? They're ugly. They're ugly and they're ridiculous. So I think, yeah, so this is the first one I made. This is the second one I made. They're like the same size, but they're a different size because when I started making the Thrums for the first one, I was making huge Thrums. And then by the time I got to the second one, the Thrums were much smaller. So now I have different size mittens. They look a little bit ridiculous, right? I don't know. From here, they don't look so good. On camera, they don't look so bad. But if you've never seen a thrummed mitten, this is what it looks like on the inside. Aren't they hilarious? Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't barely get my thumb in there. But how funny are these things? So I don't know what to do. What would you guys do? Tell me what to do with these mittens, please. I could donate them. They're not the same. Do I rip out the bigger one and make smaller Thrums? Or do I rip out the smaller one and make bigger Thrums? Or do I just rip them out and never look back, make something else with the yarn? Help me. What would you guys do? I need some advice. What else do I have to talk about? Oh, my socks. I have been working on my January socks. I think I talked about this in my last episode that I put a whole bunch of skeins of sock yarn into paper bags. I put 12 of them, one for every month of the year of 2025. And I have no idea what's in any of the bags. This was the first yarn I pulled out. It's called Goth Rainbow. It's by Mud Punch. She is a Canadian dyer. She's out in BC. And this yarn is so stunning. I love it so much. I want to buy all her self-striping yarn. That's all she dyes. And she does a phenomenal job. This is, I think, my third colorway of hers that I purchase. And even though I don't need more yarn, sometimes I just can't help it because her colors are so beautiful and they have the best names. Seriously, she has really creative names, and sometimes you almost have to buy it just for that. Either way, these are the socks. I tried to add a little bit of interest when the color changed, and for the most part it went well, except, you know, when you do a heel, it kind of throws off your sequence. And here, because I was doing just a purl round, because I had the color change here, and then I worked the heel, and then I started at another color change, I kind of did 2 purl stripes. I'm not super in love with it, but the socks are still stunning. I'm still gonna wear them. And this colorway is stunning. And if she dyes it again, I think you should check it out and you should buy some from her. Anyway, Goth Rainbow, Mud Punch, love this. January socks, almost finished. I've got the heels on. I'm working them 2 at a time on my Chow Goo. I think they're well, I always make my socks on 2.25s, but I have no idea how long my cord is. So socks, project number 1 on the needles. Actually, I only have 2. So the second one is the cowl that I'm making. It's ugly, but it's not meant to be nice. It's meant to be a practice piece for working two-handed color work. There we go. I knew I was gonna get it eventually. I made one already. I spoke about it in my last episode, and I wear that one all the time when I go for walks. It's like the perfect cowl. So I am currently recording videos because I have to knit it while I'm recording the videos, right? To show like the color changes and stuff like that. So that'll be coming out shortly. Well, when this cowl is finished, really. And my goal is to have it finished when it can go over my head. So I think I'm probably pretty close to finished. Excuse me. I'm just picking out colors at random because it's just a practice and it's just meant to be cozy. It's not meant to be pretty. I mean, you could put way more planning into it if you wanted, but I didn't. It's just to go for walks, and it's just to practice my two-handed color work. So stay tuned for that video. It'll be coming out at some point, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, because I hope to be able to work on it a little bit more this week. And that is all for the stuff I have on the go. I think next up I have to cast on Sandy's wife's sweater. Her name is Christy. She's much smaller than he is. So I think based on the measurements he sent me, I made him the biggest, which is like a 50-inch chest. And I think she's the smallest. So this is gonna be a breeze. I'm kind of looking forward to it. And the next thing I plan to cast on someday is my Traveler shell. I spun the yarn for the shell like a long time ago. I think I have 2, maybe 3 even like this, big honkin' skeins that I spun. I have no idea what the fiber is. And I figured it was the only thing in my stash that I had enough of to spin for kind of a bigger oversized piece. So I spun this ages ago, never cast on the sweater. But then when I went to the Wool Emporium in Montebello, I found the perfect match to go to hold double with this hand spun. And it's the Emilia et Philomène Clémence. So it is, here's your label. And this is also, I have to hold it over here. I have no idea. Let me just see if I can figure out what the content is. There we go. 74 baby Surrey alpaca and 26 silk. I think it might be the same as, yep. I think it's the same base, these two. That's what the lady at, excuse me. That's what the lady at the Wool Emporium said when I purchased this yarn. She did say it was the same base. So because I loved it so much in my orange hat, I think I'll probably really love it because the stuff I spun is not, it's not itchy, but it's not soft. So I wanted to hold either a silk mohair or, in this case, the silk alpaca together to make a softer project. So that's it for the knitting content. This episode is going to be significantly shorter than my last one. I'm only at 16 minutes and I'm like, I'm already done. My last episode was an hour long after editing, and it took 2 days to upload. Can you believe that? 2 days to upload with my slow country internet. I was so annoyed. So I'm gonna try and always keep my episodes definitely under 30 minutes, even maybe 20 minutes if I can swing it, but sometimes I talk too much. So I'm sorry. What else did I want to talk about? So this is like the chat portion of my episode. So if you are only here for the knitting, then thanks for hanging out and I'll see you next time. But if you're sticking around, I wanted to chat about, I'm not one to make New Year resolutions, but some of my friends have been choosing words for the year to come on New Year's. And I decided that my word for this year was going to be create or creative. Because of the loss that happened to my family, the losses in 2023, I think for 2024, I just gave myself like a year to grieve and recover. And towards the end of 2024, I started to feel inspired and more creative, and I wanted to try new things. So that's why I decided that my word for 2025 was going to be create or creative. And when I was a kid, I was extremely creative. I loved to write stories and I loved to draw. And I don't do any of that stuff anymore other than the blog that I just recently resurrected. Oh yeah, that is also mimimustknit.ca on the internet. I used to blog all the time and then I stopped in the last few years. So I brought the blog back. So if you want to go check that out, it's there. It's not going anywhere. So I wanted to start writing again. I have a cute little sketchbook that my sister gave me. She didn't know it was going to be a sketchbook. It's just a cute little notebook, but it has kind of thick paper. So I've decided that that's going to be my sketchbook. I ended up buying, I saw this really cute little felted, well, embroidered felt project when I was at Wool Emporium in Montebello. And I decided I was going to try my luck at embroidery. So I bought this little package of wool felt on Amazon, and I bought these at Michael's, and I used my discount because I'm trying to do with what I have. So drawing, painting, tons of supplies because I used to do it when I was younger. And I have watercolor, I have acrylics, I have charcoal pencils. I probably have some, what do you call that? Pastels in the basement somewhere. And then I bought this giant package of embroidery floss. So that's gonna be happening at some point soon. And all that comes on the heels of starting this book right here, which has been obviously well loved so far. I'm only like 3 chapters in, I think, but it's inspirational. So if you're a creative and you are feeling maybe a little bit stuck and you're afraid to start up again because you think you're going to be terrible at something, just read this book. So that's kind of my creative journey so far. I've been working on lino carving. I showed some of my projects in some previous episodes. And last week I went on a little drink and draw. That sounds really funny. I drink and draw at Shoeless Joe's in town with the girl that taught my lino carving workshop. a couple of months ago. I think we just hit it off, and she says, hey, we do these little drink and draw nights on Wednesdays if you want to join us. And I did. I felt a little bit funny because they're both really, really French, like France French. And sometimes they speak so fast, I don't understand the accent. But anyway, so I went on this little artist date with the girls, and it was lovely. As far as books go, I am like physically reading Little Women. I started it before Christmas, and it's a little bit slow going at this point. I've been so busy doing things, being creative with my hands, you know, trying new things, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and pick up a book. I'm just busy doing other things. So I have been listening to audiobooks, and the one I have on the go right now is Days at Morisaki Bookshop, and it's super cute. It's a book by Satoshi Yagisawa. It's translated to English from Japanese. It's a book about books. Like, what's not to love? I'm just maybe a quarter of the way in, and I'm enjoying it. It's a light read. It's kind of cute. I think the story's starting to pick up there, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. As far as anything interesting I've been up to lately, I did spend the weekend in Boston with my best friend Eric and my son. They get along really well, so it was kind of a no-brainer. We had a blast. We just went up on the Friday, came back on the Sunday. We went to see Fenway Park. We hit up some pubs and ate some food. Then we walked around Boston Common at night. It's so stunning. It's like the Central Park of New York City, right? But of Boston. And our Airbnb apartment was right there. Like, we literally walked out, you know, walked 20 feet and we were at the park. It was the perfect location. And we spent a lot of time in the park. And then on Saturday, our first full day, we hopped on the hop on hop off bus tour, which I always do when I travel to big cities. It's a great way to see all the sites, like the touristy things, and you pay one fee and you get to see all the things, and then you can get off wherever you want to go spend more time at a spot that you really liked, and then you get back on the bus and you move on to the next one. So you can get a 2-day or a 1-day, whatever you want. So we did the 1 day. And then on the Sunday, we did a guided tour of the Harvard campus, which is the bomb. It's my 3rd time in Boston, and I've been to the Harvard campus the 2 times before, but this time we ended up booking a student-led tour, and it was so fun. The kid that was our guide, he was studying applied mathematics. Like, who does that on purpose? Anyway, he was lovely. He was there on a soccer scholarship, so that was really fun. He talked a lot about the history, but, you know, with a little bit of humor. So it was a lovely tour. And then we drove back home, and it was great. And I ended up buying another sweater because, you know, when you're at Harvard, you got to buy a Harvard sweater. So if you're ever looking for a place to go for a weekend, then Boston is definitely recommended. It's small enough that you can see a lot in a weekend. So because I can't travel long and far right now, I'm gonna do a little short and close trips, you know, maybe weekends away. So that's kind of it for today. I feel like I rambled enough, even though it's only 25 minutes long. But I am committed to being here more often because I really like making these videos. I like sharing what inspires me. I like sharing what I'm working on because maybe it'll inspire you. I like to encourage people to be creative. If that's what makes you happy, that's what makes me happy. And I've committed myself to being more creative this year because it fills my cup. I do a job that drains my cup, so creating really fills my cup. So on that note, I'll see you next time. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and go make something.